Well, hi everyone. I'm John Ritland, and this is my review of AEW Dynamite from Denver, or rather Broomfield, Colorado. But they called it Denver, so what the fuck? Geography doesn't really matter, and honestly, no offense to anybody in Broomfield, but Denver would probably be the spicier location. So how was the follow-up to AEW Revolution? It was messy. At times it was fun, at times it wasn't. I'll get into why, but considering how some of the AEW Dynamite episodes have been in the past few weeks, I would say the past month, this episode was a bit of a downgrade, but not all that bad. There were some good moments. So let's get right on into it. We get Revolution recaps, and here's the fallout. So what are we going to see? Jon Moxley kicking us off, and he's fired up. He will not run. He will defend the AEW World Championship that he won from Chris Jericho, the former La Champion. And he says he knows the Inner Circle is going to come after him, that this whole thing is not over, which probably means we're going to get Moxley versus Jake Hager at some point. Boy, won't that be fun. Jericho comes out with all the Inner Circle crowds chanting along with him, along with his music at least, and he tells everyone to shut your ass. Because why not? The crowd starts chanting, "You suck ass." There's a whole bunch of really good banter back and forth. Really fired up promo from Mox here. Jericho is typical, saying, "Oh, the roster is on notice. We're going to start with you." And he says, "Jon Moxley, if you leave the arena tonight under your own power, I will leave AEW for 60 days. Take a leave of absence. He'll be gone. He will be totally gone. He won't be anywhere at all. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen, because there's no way that Jericho's going to actually leave. Even with him touring with Fozzy, if you look at the schedule, well, it just wasn't going to add up. So we knew that he had some ace up his sleeve. And then we have SCU and Colt Cabana versus the Dark Order, which was Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, Dick Stu Grayson, don't call me Dick Grayson, all that, and Alex Reynolds and Long John Silver. Yeah, I don't like the Dark Order. I've made that clear. It's not even about how they are in the ring. It's not even about that. I hate the gimmick. So they could be great talents in the ring, and I won't deny that especially Grayson's a pretty good athlete. And sure, maybe if this was a different gimmick, it would work, but it just takes me out of it because no amount of resetting is going to help, in my opinion. But there are some people who like it, and that's totally fine. They are desperate to try and get the Dark Order over, though, and some like it, some don't. So it was a mess. We get, some back and forth. We get at one point Dark Order attacks everybody in the corner, and then later SCU and Colt Cabana attack everybody in the corner. We get some comedy. We get some decent spots. But in the end, we get a Chicago Skyline, a drop across the turnbuckle, and Superman pin. Colt Cabana gets the pin on, I believe, Reynolds. 1, 2, 3. So there we go. And Evil Uno's yelling, "No, no, no, this is not what the Exalted One wants. He will be furious. So will I, because this gimmick is still going on." But you know what? Hey, they're teasing this. It's probably going to be Matt Hardy at this point. I can't imagine who else it would be, but we'll see what happens. So we get recaps of the tag title match at Revolution, which, by the way, to me was the match of the night, and I know a lot of people agree. Some people feel it was overhyped. Even as somebody that's not a huge fan of the Bucks or Omega, I gotta say, that match was pretty fucking incredible. The pacing, everything, the storytelling was right up there with the Golden Lovers versus the Young Bucks at Strong Style Evolved in March of 2018 for New Japan. So we then get Britt Baker bringing Tony Schiavone a coffee or, a latte or something or other. And it's a nice running joke that they have going. Britt is sinking her teeth, in pun intended, into this role as heel a little bit more. There are times where she's almost trying to sound like Lisa, trying to sound cool in that one Simpsons episode. It's like, whatever. And we get Big Swole versus Liva Bates with Peter Avalon, referee Aubrey, and Big Swole won pretty easily. Liva, I don't really know what to think of her in the ring. I don't know what it is. I don't know if she was just supposed to be the job person here or what, but just something was a little bit off. A Big Swole won with the Dirty Dancing really quickly, so at least it was a squash. That's what you need to do, not just with all your women, but with some of the guys too. Occasionally have a squash match where you just get somebody over like this, give them a quality win. That works. Don't just do it on Dark. Do it on Dynamite, because you can still build around other people. And it's like, oh shit, they won so quickly. I gotta see what else they can do. So we then get Cody. We get fired up promo. Crowd's very, very alive. He talks the MJF feud. The lashings, taking all that stuff. He's not sure. It's a bit too much to take. He's not sure what the fuck he can do, because he built, he went through all these hoops, jumped through all these hoops, went through all this stuff, and lost to MJF. He's not sure where he goes from here. And here's Jake the Snake Roberts, who is one of the best promos of all time. I will not deny that. You know, his issues aside, and I'm not talking his issues that he has overcome as far as substance abuse issues, but I'll leave that for another day. Jake Roberts has been through a whole lot. It ain't just age that caught up to his voice. It was a lot of holy crap. I mean, I thought he sounded bad when he talked to Randy Orton in 2005. And I get it. It's a lot of issues that could lead to that. He did a fired up promo, but his voice is just totally fucking gone. And it was sad to hear. It really was sad to hear. One of the best promos, and his voice was shot. Now, he did get off some pretty good lines. Also, he's looking a little more like Magnum TA as the years go on. It's a little bit eerie. I wonder if they were separated at birth. Maybe they were twins. Who the fuck knows? They aren't the same age, obviously, but who knows? He does talk about, a snake in your ass. What is with all the ass stuff tonight? I do not get it. What is with the fascination with snakes and asses in general? Could somebody explain this to me? Does Denver have a fascination with asses? So he wants Cody to face his client, whoever the fuck his client is, because Jake Roberts doesn't want, the whole company. He just wants Cody's piece of the pie. Okay, who's his client? Probably Brody Lee. That would be my guess. Because I want to say Lance Archer, but I almost think Brody Lee would fit better just as far as like how they both look. I think it would be a good introduction for Brody Lee, and then Jake Roberts even mentioning, hey, you could bring Arn Anderson, you could bring his washed up ass. So, okay. Cool. All right. It was cool. It was really rough to hear Jake Roberts like that, but the crowd loved it, and Cody seemed to love it, but I don't know. What do you guys think? I thought it sounded a little rough, but he did deliver the point pretty well. We then get Chuck Taylor with Beretta and Orange Cassidy versus Pac. Why this wasn't a 5-minute squash, I don't know. And Chuck Taylor and Beretta work well as a team, but Chuck Taylor on his own, on a national platform like this, it's not that he's bad in the ring. I just don't find him all that interesting. Him doing commentary for that one episode of Dark and on some episodes of New Japan, a couple years ago was fine, but this just didn't work for me. We had referee Aubrey, and apparently doing the ref duties for this, obviously. We get the Bucks, Omega, and Page that aren't here because of the tag match and stuff like that, though we get to see one of them a little bit later. Weird Hurricanrana spot. I don't know what the deal with that was. Don't know why Pac didn't squash him. There were some decent moves. Pac teased facing off with Orange Cassidy and beating him up, and then Barrett stopped him from doing that, and then bad pile driver by Taylor. I don't even mean like bad, like where it was a botch. It's just like, ooh, that looked like he really spiked Pac. But soon after, we get the Brutalizer, and that gets a tap out, and then the Lucha Bros come down and help. Okay, so the Lucha Bros and Pac are apparently a team. They are, because they're called Death Triangle. Okay? It's not like the movie Triangle, if you've ever seen that, or The Triangle. I'm really sorry if you saw that, because it was a mess. But Cassidy gets laid out with the package pile driver double stomp the Lucha Bros do. Hey, you know what? I think they're aiming to have some kind of trios championship at this point. I thought they were aiming with it at first with some of the trios that they had, but now that they have Pac and Lucha Bros in a trio, is everybody just going to be in a goddamn faction? Is there going to be like, one or two people like Moxley and maybe one other person that are just left on their own? Like, I'm not really, like, Moxley and Darby will be like the two that are left on their own. Everybody else will be in a goddamn faction outside of the women. But I don't know what to deal with. Hey, cool. If it works for them, great. We'll see. Speaking of things I don't really see working all that well, Shawn Spears is looking for a tag partner. Always and forever. And I like Shawn Spears. He's a good enough worker. I don't think this pairing with Tully is necessarily working. It's good that they're trying with Shawn Spears, but he's had like multiple tag partners on Dark and it has not worked at all. Speaking of other things that aren't working, QT Marshall, who's fine, he brings out a box of apples along with Dustin and Brandy during the commercial break, and they're passing out these shiny red apples and everything, and then suddenly Snow White, takes a bite of them. Well, anyway. We get Hager with Santana and Ortiz, and we have a match here. As much as I may not like Hager as a person, I've stated that clearly, as a wrestling character, he should have squashed QT within like 3 minutes. It's not that QT shouldn't have gotten in any offense. I don't know. Even though he didn't get in much, he got in a little too much for me. Hager especially should have been kept kind of strong here. It wasn't like he was kept weak. I don't. Something about this just didn't work for me. It just something about the pacing. Crowd does change. Jericho's bitch, and he got that choke they used on Dustin at Revolution for the win. So Hager's 2-0. And then Cody comes down and helps because we get a beat down here. And then we get Matt Jackson coming in with super kicks and then attacks Hager and then gets laid out. And then we get Paige with a drink, and he puts the drink on the post, and then flips out and does the buckshot lariat to Hager, which was pretty cool. And then he flips out Matt Jackson, so obviously that thing's still going on. This isn't the only time that we got a bunch of people interfering. That's the second match in a row that we got all this interference stuff. And I get, or not interference, but like just these run-ins at the end. It's like it was run-in city. That's essentially what this show was. Next week, we get that triangle in action with Jurassic Express versus MJF and Butcher and the Blade. And the Blood and Guts rules get explained. And then we get MJF promo. He talks about Cody and the Jurassic Express facing them next week. He has an eye-pin Cody shirt. He says the shirt's loud and obnoxious and ridiculous, just like a neck tattoo. Some variation of that, which is pretty funny. The neck tattoo, I do have to admit, isn't really good on Cody, but it's his body. He can do what the hell he wants with it. And then we get Jon Moxley and Darby Allin versus Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, zipping right through this show. Moxley gets laid out while Darby's in the ring. Darby makes no attempt to go help his partner when three masked guys in AEW hoodies just suddenly attack, and then security does nothing. It's like, holy crap. These three guys, it's obviously Hager, Santana, and Ortiz, which means we've seen them a whole bunch again, right after seeing them before. And, okay, got a big shock. Moxley gets laid out. He's out cold. And so Jericho won't have to leave for 60 days. Darby dominates for a bit because he's taking him 2-on-1. Then he gets cut off and he gets beat up for a while. But he will not fucking stop. All of Inner Circle's down there. And Darby, absolutely fantastic. Seen him live a few times at various indie shows. So happy for his success. He keeps fighting back. He gets a coffin drop outside. And then tries for a dive on Jericho, and Jericho hits the well-timed juice effect. Even though the camera didn't quite catch it, it was as good as it could be without A, hurting Darby, and B, making it look good. And then Darby gets pinned. And suddenly here's Moxley. The doctor's trying to tell him not to do it. He grabs a chair. He throws the chair right at Hager's head. Maybe that'll knock some sense into him. I kid. He got his hands up, so at least I hope he did, because otherwise, unprotected chair shots, maybe not. And it's a mugging. And they take Jericho to the stage, or not Jericho. Jericho and his company take Moxley to the stage, and the Shield powerbomb through the table. I kid. They've done triple powerbombs, have been done like that before, but I just had to say it because Moxley was involved. We get no Lance Archer, which I thought he was supposed to appear. Maybe he's appearing on Dark. I have no idea. I don't know why they would talk about Archer appearing. Maybe he had other commitments. Maybe he is going to appear on Dark, which is a bit of an odd use of his debut. I would have thought he would have, made some impact, joined Inner Circle, or done something where he would have been a tweener. That being said, the show still had a few too many run-ins, and I get what they're trying to do, and they built it well, but stuff about the show didn't exactly work for me, so I'm still going to give it a decent grade, but I'm going to give it a B-. So not as high as I've given it before, but B-. Pull above here, maybe, if I remember. If not, please leave your votes in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.